Namaskaram,
Namaskaram.
Santan Toodi Sab. Welcome to my show, Point to Point with Shiv Vadlamudi. I'm so glad you agreed to come on to my show.
No, pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for giving me an opportunity to share, my story here.
This is the first time I'm talking to a U.S. Army officer.
Thank you.
I'm so happy and I'm so, elevated with talking to you. In fact, when I see the dress like this anywhere, I get, emotionally connected because my father was also an army officer.
Amazing.
Indian army officer.
I see.
So I have a special affiliation for army people around the world. Anybody, any army. And of course, the, dress jobs, the police and all that stuff.
Right, uniformed services.
Yes, uniformed services. Absolutely, sir. Yes. So, welcome, Bendy.
Thank you very much. It's amazing, to talk. I always love. It's a great opportunity to share the story, especially the Indian diaspora that has been here. We are in different services. We are in the medical services. We serve this community as engineers, as IT and everything. But you don't see a lot of people in uniform services.
So, to add to your point, we probably see 0.1% of people are Indian decent
yes.
in the armed services, U.S. armed services.
Right.
There is an extremely rare occurrence.
Right. No, so they say only 2% of the American population ever puts on uniform. In the 2%, I have met maybe 2 or 3 the next generation Indian kids, not the generation that came here and settled down, but the kids that are going to college now. I met 2 or 3 of them. So we are extremely low percentage. And this gives me, I'm absolutely excited to be part of this because it gives me an opportunity to inspire our population to say that, we need to pull our due, burden in uniform services.
So that's whole reason why I wanted you to be part of my show is to motivate the other Indian the upcoming kids.
Yes.
To be part of the U.S. Armed Forces or any for military services.
It is a need of the hour, sir. Yes.
So I'm so happy. I mean, I don't know how much I can say to convey my thanks and my gratitude for you to come on to my show.
No, thank you. It gives me a great pleasure.
Mr. Toodi.
Yes, please.
Toodi.
Yes, Toodi is absolutely.
So before we get into deep into your army life and all that stuff, help my viewers understand a little bit about your background. Where are you coming from? The town in India, and obviously you are an Indian born.
Yes.
There is no doubt about that.
Yes.
Nobody can deny that, right?
True.
Now you are a U.S. citizen,
yes.
and of course, right?
Yes.
So, Indian background. I want to understand a little bit about Indian background. Where do you come from? Your family, your mother, father.
I am from a town 80 kilometers away from Hyderabad called Gangapur. It's a village. That's where my dad is from. We are from Mahabubnagar district. I went to Saraswati Shishu Mandir, Telugu medium school. I came to US in 2001 for my masters, and after I finished my masters, I went and I started working. I have always had the passion to serve, so I've been looking for joining. The way I joined after I got my green card in 2012, September 10th is when I joined. For service, I got commissioned in 2015.
No. You're too fast into the service.
Okay.
Step back a little bit.
Yes.
So your father, mother, do you have any siblings back in India?
Yes. So my father is a English lecturer in the junior college. My mother is a housewife. I have a sibling. Her name is Mahati Toodi. She also lives in McKinney.
Oh, okay.
So she's also here.
Both brother and sister are
along
here.
With my uncle, who is our elder brother. So we 3 of us grew up together.
So uncle, elder brother,
So my uncle, who is 19 years old, younger to my mom, he's only 4.5 years older than me. So I became a middle child of my family, which actually helped me join army. I'll tell you later why.
Oh, okay. Good. Okay. So that's all about your family.
Yes.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So when did you come to United States?
2001, December 11th, yes.
Okay, and you came for like what?
I came here for masters. I went to University of Missouri in Kansas City for a degree in engineering, computer science.
Okay, so 2001 you came in here to United States, Missouri.
Yes.
And then 2012 you just said that you were part of, you joined
US Army.
the US Army.
Yes.
Okay, so between that and 2001 and 2012, what were you doing?
So I finished my master's around 2004. Then I went to Boston. I started working in IT firms in the financial sector until 2007. Then I came back to Chicago and I started working for a company called Navtech until 2021. While I was working there, I got my green card and then I joined the Illinois Army National Guard, which is the reserve service of the US Army.
Sorry, sir, repeat that.
Illinois Army National Guard. It's a state National Guard.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, it is a reserve unit.
Oh, I see. Yeah. So you joined there in 2012.
2012, yes.
Okay. What motivated you? So you said, what I hear also, one of the reasons why the other national people join the US Army is to get their immigration status settled, right?
Yeah.
But you just said you already had the green card and then you joined.
Yes.
What motivated you to join the US Army?
So to join uniform service has been a dream of mine. Going to a school like Saraswati Shish Mandir, where they invoke a sense of responsibility in community for you. And I grew up with the stories of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, Azad Chandrasekhar Azad, and Bhagat Singh. So it was always imbibed in us to serve the nation. And originally I wanted to join the NDA in India.
Oh, okay.
But being an 80s kid, I only had two options, either to become a doctor or an engineer. I'm pretty sure you know. And because of that, I had to become an engineer. So I told my parents, I'll do what you want me to become first. Then I'll become whatever I want. Please don't come in between.
Okay.
So
then you're on your own. So after you do what your parents have asked?
Yes. So after I joined my IT, I got a job and everything. There are other ways of joining the military. I'm pretty sure we'll talk about it. But because it was passion for me to serve the community, even during my master's, I used to. I was part of a group called Association of Indian Development.
Oh, okay.
And we used to, raise funds and support projects back home. And then I was part of Hepsiba. And I was it's an orphanage. And I served on the board of Big Brothers and Big Sisters. And during Katrina, there was, I've seen the civilians going and serving the community, which made me feel like I'm not doing the due course. And so after I got everything, it made me more obligated because I felt like coming from a nation like India, America gave me access to the American dream. And I was able to fulfill my dream of America. And I'm like, what? Now I need to give something back to the community. So that, though it was not satiant enough for me to give community through working in, the Big Brothers and Big Sisters and everything else. And then in 2010, there was a big tornado in Joplin, Missouri, between Kansas and Missouri, and an entire town got wiped away. So what I did was there was a Tavante Holmes, a brother that I adopted from Big Brothers and Big Sisters. I took him and I said, along with my wife, I was newly married. I got married in 2009, so my wife was maybe like 8 months in US. And I said, she understood my passion and she has always been very supportive of everything that I do.
Is that an arranged marriage? I'm sorry, I'm diverting a little bit.
It is an arranged marriage.
Okay.
But she's from our family.
Oh, okay.
So she has been and she is still very supportive.
Very good.
And so I packed both of them. We went to Joplin. We stayed there for a week on a July 4th weekend. That weekend we served the community. And at that time, month preceding that, I wanted to go to Joplin. I kept calling those guys saying that I want to come. They said, no, you cannot come. You cannot come. They stopped me for a month. And I said, why? And after I went there, they explained it to me that because the ground is not safe for a civilian to come, usually the guard members come first and they make it safe so that the rest of the people can come. That is when I saw the AmeriCorps people there and I saw the National Guard people there. Until then, I did not have an idea of National Guard. I wanted to join like a Marine Corps Reserve or something, which is what I was following. But once I knew Then I went into an army recruiting station, a guard recruiting station. I filled my paperwork. They were absolutely ecstatic that a guy who finished master's is ready to join the force. Then later they said, "Are you a citizen?" I said, "No, I'm not. I am on H1." They said, "No, you're not qualified to join as H1. Wait until you get green card." Thankfully, I got my green card in February of 2012. And I finished my paperwork. I did all my tests. I went to a thing
How
called...
old were you back then?
I was 32-year-old.
Oh, okay.
So by the army standards, I was very old. Because usually people out of high school join the army.
Correct.
People that go to ROTC. So they are around 18 to 22. So as a 32-year-old...
ROTC, what is it called?
I'll tell you. So it's Reserve Officer Training Course.
Okay.
And then as I was 32, 34 is a cutoff.
Oh, okay. 34 is a cutoff. Then.
Cutoff. So I had to get a special permission because as a nation, America is investing in your training, in your clearances, in a lot of stuff, and they want to make sure that you are able to at least serve the nation for 6 to 8 years. So as I was nearing that cutoff, I had to get a special permission from the general from the Illinois, and he thankfully gave me because I wrote
So you went to the general and got the clearance?
No, the recruiters did. They made me write a big essay on why and what motivates me, and they were very moved.
Do you mind sharing the...
No, I basically told that I feel that, coming from a developing nation like India, I know that, the reason after we finished engineering, we came here because we don't have any other better option working in India. Coming here, America opens its arms and gives you the best quality of education, and then it does not discriminate you when it's trying to give you a job. You end up being that 4% in the entire nation that makes the maximum amount, right? So it feels like a nation that gives you way to materialize your dream. What are we doing back to the community was always a question that was haunting me. So they were absolutely moved that in army there are a lot of people that you find. So during the 2 generations before, people were serving. Everybody in American family has put on a uniform. So a lot of people want to be like their grandfathers, their parents, right? So it motivates them. Then we have this section of kids that are motivated and they want to become army even from their elementary school. Then there is a section of population that want to join the army for the benefits. They want to get the education benefits. They want to go because they don't know anything else to do. Some people want structure, the discipline. So they found it that being a foreign national doesn't even want
any of those benefits.
Any of the benefits. He's saying that I want to make sure that my community, my nation gets benefited for me. So it's a huge respect,
So they did not see any personal benefit you're looking for.
Right.
Rather, you really want to serve the nation.
Exactly.
And,
Exactly. Having said that, maybe when we get to, I'll tell you that the bargain, though that was the bargain that I thought that I was giving something back to the community, what Army gave me is many more folds through discipline, through structure, through leadership, and how they train you, how they prepare you is not even comparable with the skills that I had when I was entering the Army. Yes.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Very good, very good. So that's how 2012 you went into the
2012 happened, went to MEPS.
Okay.
I joined and I go join the basic training. And every other kid that I look to are 16, 17-year-old kids and 20-year-old.
You're competing with almost the double.
I'm the oldest guy. Even the drill sergeants were young. They just came out of Iraq. They served the tour in Iraq. It was a sergeant and it was a staff sergeant. I still have a great connection with them. And both of them, I was older than them. And the fact that you're submitting to a mission that is much higher than you, it doesn't matter your age, you put your ego down and you become a trainee at that point. If they say down, you're down. If they say push, you push. If they say pull, you pull. That submission gives you a lot more back because Army takes you completely, breaks you down, and then it reassembles you in a way that you become the warrior of this nation. That is the reason America has one of the most mightiest armies in the world.
Yeah, that's the premier forces in the world. It is considered like that.
Exactly.
Is it still considered like that?
It is. Because American Army always thinks of the theaters around the world and it trains to the fight of tomorrow, not the fight of yesterday. A lot of the armies that, because don't really get to engage, are training with weapons of yesterday, with tools of yesterday. But American Army is always on the forefront of war technology.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So let's help my viewers walk through your training and then your progress
Right.
from 2012 to today. It is 2024.
Yes.
So help us walk through that.
So the basic training,
scenario. Yeah.
When you join as a completely new recruit, you have to go for a 12-week program called BCT, Basic Combat Training,
Okay.
where they completely train you the ABCs of being a soldier. Because in the army, it does not matter which corps you are. Either you can be infantry, you can be armor, or you can be seaborne, anything. But you have to know how to use the rifle.
Oh,
so
okay.
during the basic training, they make sure that you understand the army doctrine, the rules of engagement, and your basic war function as a soldier, what you need to do, which includes your physical preparation, your mental preparation, and you train not just as an individual, but you're also part of a team. The team is part of a squad. Squad is part of a platoon. And the platoon is part of a company. Company is part of a battalion. Battalion is part of a brigade. So it teaches you, it gives you the elementary tools of how you can be part of this big war machine and how you can focus on your mission, at the same time understand the variables of the bigger mission. So it was I went on November 6th of 2012. I finished my basic combat training in April of 2013.
Okay.
So once you're done,
Can I a different question there? So when you were going into army, it's like you are giving your life to the nation.
yes,
Right. Lot of times you may come back, you may not come back.
right.
Right, based on where you are deployed
missions,
and all
yes,
that stuff.
yes.
Right, Iraq, Afghanistan, and all.
Right.
Back, right. What was your wife's feeling, and what was your parents' feeling? Let's share that a little bit.
So, of course, my dad could not say much because he was our hero and he's the inspiration. Though he could not agree with what I chose, he knew that whatever he was teaching was working right. And my mom, on the other side, was even to today, though she's proud, she's very always worried, and she always looks out, as have served combat tours. She's always worried. My wife, the funny thing is, because I went on September 10th to a MEPS unit to write my commission, that day my wife was sick, and I said, I go to the MEPS, I come back home, I take her to the doctor, and the doctor tells me that my wife is pregnant.
Oh, congratulations.
So
at least back
now,
then,
of course,
Yeah.
But the thing is, the dilemma, if it happened one day before, probably I would have re-inspected the entire thing, because as I have to leave home and go for a 6 to 8 months training, leaving my wife in the pregnancy was a big deal. So, but my wife, right, I wanted to go after my son was born, but that my wife said, I understand it's a very important chapter in our lives. You go ahead, come home just before the birth, and then you would have finished your training and you can enjoy. So in that sense, not only that I got trained because of the army, my wife got trained. My wife's decision also had to be supported by my family. My sister was living close by. My mom came from India. My uncle lives close by. So all of them had a written part in supporting me to be a warrior, because my wife...
I am so emotional right now with the story you're telling me.
Right. The first trimester, I went when my wife was 3 months old. She was pregnant, 3 months. So she went through second trimester and third trimester, all by herself, without me. Of course, with the support of my sister, my mother. And when I was going through the training, those days, 15 years back, when you write a letter, you don't have phones to call home. So you need to write a letter. The letter takes 3 to 4 days to get, and then they will write a letter, which takes 4 days to come. So first 1 week, 1 month, I thought it should be fine. And then I started these letters pouring in from every family, and my family was struggling to understand what I was doing. So then, after a long time, because I think we lost the art of letter writing. So I started writing letters to my mother, my sister, my wife, and to my family. Then they would all write letters, all of them would combine, put them in a single thing, and every night, so we wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning. It starts with you going to the parade field and you work out until 6 o'clock. You come back, you have your breakfast at 6:30, and then you go out. As you're learning how to use a weapon, how to throw grenades, to how to scale up and go up the mountains and jump off the roofs and all this training. It's a very structured program where what you need to do, everything is written. It's like a doctrine since 1940s, from World War I to World War II. How to train an American soldier is a doctrine that is written. So it is prescribed and everything. So we would come back, we would eat lunch out in the field. We would come back around 7 o'clock, we have our dinner, and then we have some more training. So around 9 is when they open the mail bags. Like they show in the movie Border and everything, when you get the letters from home, they leave it and they read and they give it to you. And the moment
so they read the letter and give it to you?
No, of course. So they read the top of it, but sometimes they have to open and understand. So what happens is, as soldiers, 16-year-olds, imagine them, right? They finish their high school. They grew up with whatever, they come from different communities, from Hispanic community, from African-American community, American community. It does not matter where you come back from and what your parents are and how you grew up. At the end of the day, to become part of a unit, to move as a unit, to think as a unit, you have to be broken. During the phase of breaking and becoming a warrior, what happens is a lot of people go through a lot of experiences mentally, physically, how they accept it, and a lot of people fight it. And the drill sergeants are the most passionate people that they give 2.5, 3 years of their life to drill sergeantry. They come and they want to make sure they establish that switch off your brain. We only want you to listen to the command, follow it. In that process, being an older person, it was not hard for me. What was hard for me is the physical regimen, but the rest of the kids, they were physically adept to do it, but they needed the discipline part of it, to listen, to take authority, to tell them, go down and you need to swallow your pride, your ego, and when they say push, you need to push because there is a purpose for it. It would so happen that even if one of the person is late to the formation, you train together, you suffer together, whatever punishment they do, you have to take it as a unit. You train as a platoon of 40 people. There are 4 squads. Each squad has 10 people. And if one of the person comes late, the entire platoon is giving the push-ups or going
40,
around.
40 people.
40 people.
40 people.
Yeah.
Wow, okay.
They train as a unit.
So they're basically not just creating a soldier, but they're also creating a family of soldiers who are connected.
The connections that you develop in the army, the people that share your joy can come closer, but the people that share the misery together become much more closer. The bondings that happen in the army, even after 12 years, even if I don't meet them, we're all like brothers. We talk, depending on how they grew in the army, how I grew in the army, we all depend on each other. That's only the first of the training. In the army, there are training every year. There is, to where I am, there is training everywhere, and you become very close. You come together.
Okay.
So the setting, wherever you come apart again, and then submitting yourself in that phase, what happens is a lot of these soldiers go through a lot of trauma, and then they try to write to the senators and try to write to the home, and whatever happens, and sometimes whatever information you get from outside, they cannot have chocolates, we cannot eat all that stuff. So your mail is strictly scrutinized.
Screened.
Exactly, to make sure that nothing comes.
So nothing comes in the mail. Besides, they also read the letters?
They do.
You just, okay.
They do.
So for you, I'm assuming you got letters from India. Right?
I no. So my wife was here in Chicago.
Right.
And so I got letters from Chicago. My mother was here.
Oh, your mom was.
Mom was here to help my wife and.
Okay. So no letter came from India.
No letter came from India.
Oh, okay.
So all the letters were, sometimes they were in Telugu.
Yeah.
But what happens
that's
is,
what I was getting at.
Drill sergeants also know you. They also try to see you, right? They know I wasn't a trouble kid because where I was older than them. I left a 6-figure salary. I was getting paid almost $150K when I joined the army. The soldier makes maybe $45,000. My drill sergeant was making maybe $65,000, $70,000. So they had a huge respect for me. The fact that I left such a high-paying job and I came to serve for the nation. So they knew I was
really had a purpose is what they understood from get-go.
Exactly.
Like they don't have to emotionally train you other than the physical training part.
Right.
Wonderful. Very good. So how was you went to training, your wife was pregnant, and your family was taking care of your wife and all, which is really good.
Right.
Was Army at all involved in supporting your wife? Was Army ever
So
involved?
at the time during basic training, because you are not considered as a soldier,
Okay.
there are a lot of soldier supporting services that are available if you get deployed or if you do anything else. But during that time, I was not qualified as a soldier
Okay.
because
You're still
you
in training.
earn your thing, your passing rights as a soldier after your basic training is done.
So you get selected for training, or you write some? You said so. How did you get into even the training part?
So there is something you have to go through a written test before, and the written test gets you. It's an aptitude test.
Okay.
During that, looking at those tests, they select you, and then they also go through MEPS. It's called Military Entrance Processing Center.
Okay.
Every major city has a MEPS connected to the army recruiting places around. So they look at you physically, and you should be able to perform some physical stuff to make sure that you are trainable.
Okay.
They look at your medical stuff. The army doctors, from cardiologists to nephrologists to everything, they do every blood sample, urine test, and they do all that stuff. And then they say, yes, this guy is trainable.
Oh, okay.
So they have done all that part before I joined.
Oh, good. I'm still trying to think. At 32, did I get my green card or not? I'm just trying to think that, because I had no clue that I could join the army. If I had a clue, I would definitely be at your place where you are today.
So you are serving the mission by being part of this, and you're trying to take this information to the masses. So maybe you're fulfilling your.
Thank you.
I'm
trying. I'm trying.
Yes.
But thank you very much. So the aptitude test you're talking about,
right.
How difficult that is for an average student to crack that?
So your SAT that you prepare after your high school for college, it would be something like that.
Okay.
But understand that this is the test that finds people that go to Intel branch, NSA, to becoming infantry. So infantry in the army is considered as the most low IQ thing, because all you need to do is you have a weapon, they show you and you target, right? So the kids that you need to at least have 25 points. It's a 150 points test. You need to at least have 25. If you don't pass 25, you're not qualified. If you get 25 to 55, you become an infantry soldier. So depending on your score, you are given the branch that you have.
Okay.
So I scored 149 for 150. So I could choose any branch I want.
Okay.
So I wanted to go becoming an officer at that point. But the only thing was, because I was a green card holder and not a citizen, I could not go for few branches. I wanted to go Intel. I could not serve Intel military police. I could not become an officer at that point directly, because you should have a pre-existing citizenship and they get you a clearance before you join.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that marks will decide whether you become a regular soldier or an officer.
Yes.
Okay. So the 150 marks,
Yep.
or whatever the test,
Right.
that will decide whether Mr. Toodi is qualified for an officer,
Right.
or he will start off with a soldier like.
Having said that, you have a choice. Okay. Though I was qualified for everything, if I say I want to become an infantry guy, nobody will say no to it.
Right.
But now your options are high.
Right.
In America, even today, the most inspiring branch is infantry, because the only infantry student can go become a ranger. You can go to a ranger school, and the ranger people that have the ranger tab can go to the special operations. So, like what happened with Bin Laden, it was a Delta Force unit.
Okay.
So you need to become an infantry soldier, mostly to become special operations, because what you do out there is mostly about your weapon and your thing. So even today, during World War and World War I and World War II, the American men that went out and stormed the beaches of Normandy, that stormed Africa and Russia and Germany, the infantry soldiers still are considered as the most fascinating, fanciest branch in the army.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. Okay. So we'll definitely come to that. I forgot to ask you one more question there. So you went into the training part,
Basic training,
right?
yes.
Basic training. I of course have so many questions, Mr.
Please.
Toodi. I want to ask, and I want to see if we can wrap this in the 1 hour time I have.
Okay.
Actually 40-50 minutes, 1 hour.
Yes.
I don't know if I can do that, but we'll try.
Yes.
So you are in army training.
Mm-hmm.
How did your parents feel? Back in India, because U.S. Army is considered supposed to be the precious, the supreme,
Right.
defense forces. How did they feel?
So this is where the part I told you that thankfully I became the middle child in my family, with my uncle being the older and my sister being the younger, because a middle child is a problem child, they say. That they are the non-conformists. They are the rebellions, right? So my family always, my dad and my mom always had a heartache because of my choices. Though they were proud, they always had a heartache with my choices. Of course, they were thinking, they were projecting that I would get deployed. And even today, in my home, they are the most plugged into the current affairs, because if something happens in Ukraine, something happens with Russia, something happens in Israel, something happens in China, they're always seeing how America reacts and what happens and where I'm plugged in. We will get into this later when I'm getting deployed to Afghanistan, because you will see the turmoil in my family coming to its peak. So, but they probably did not know what they were getting into.
So you were deployed into Afghanistan?
Yes, I was.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, that's very interesting. I definitely want to get into that.
Yes.
So my point was, so your father walking down the street in India, is he like, hey, my son is in US Army, my son is in US Army? Was that feeling he had of?
I'm pretty sure.
Has he ever shared that, son?
In Telugu they say, right, putrotsaham tandriki. So he never directly tells me, but I can see the pride in his eyes when he talks to people or anything, because I'm still plugged into the Indian community and I try to do so many things back. He knows that is the right answer. That is the right thing that I have done. Though he would not agree with it, with the heart, being as a father. But of course, he is proud. When I was in Afghanistan, I used to talk to my parents all the time, telling them and everything. So he is a proud father. He knows that his son has done the right thing.
Very good. And I'm also very proud talking to you today.
Thank you. It's a great
Extremely
honor.
proud.
This
is, this is most precious interview I've ever done so far.
It's a great honor. Thank you. Thank you.
So, back to your training part, right? So you said there are marks which will decide whether you become an officer and all. But because you were not a citizen, you were not deployed as an officer. What was the rank you went into?
So you need to at least. So I was a specialist. So the NCO rank and the officer's rank are mostly, we can compare them with India or compare with any of the forces in the world. Mostly the officer rank, because NATO, these are all the people that have to work under NATO or work through NATO with each other's nations. Mostly the officer rankings are similar to every other nation. But in America, I was started as an NCO. It's called non-commissioned officer.
Correct.
You start as a private first class. Mm-hmm. You start as a private first class. Then you are called a specialist. And from specialist, then you have to go through some special trainings to become a sergeant. So I was given the highest rank they could give me without becoming a soldier. During my training, it was a specialist.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
So, okay. Then specialist too?
Specialist next is sergeant. Because you have to go through what is called as basic non-commissioned officer course.
Okay.
BLC, basic leadership course. You become a sergeant. From sergeant, you go through another course called LLC. Then you become a staff sergeant. A staff sergeant goes through SLC, senior leadership course, and then he becomes a sergeant first class. From sergeant first class, he has to go to a separate training again, professional training. And then he becomes a master sergeant. Master sergeants are picked as first sergeants. From there, they become a staff sergeant majors that command a complete battalion or a brigade. So from sergeant major commands an entire battalion? He commands an entire battalion. A first sergeant commands a company, first sergeant.
Okay.
And then next, when he becomes a sergeant major, in his beginning years as a sergeant major, he but he becomes the NCO of the entire battalion. Mm-hmm. And later he gets promoted to a brigade. From there he goes to a division. So the sergeant major of the army is called the sergeant major. And they will have the sergeant major academy to train them to the next echelons of the army.
So what is your role today, as of today?
So today I'm a captain. So a captain in the officer corps, we start as a second lieutenant, then you become a first lieutenant. After that, first lieutenant, you become a captain. It's called O3.
Okay.
It's the same thing as India.
Right. I understand.
Captain, then you become a major. I'm about to become a major next year. My file is in front of the board.
But you said you started as an NCO, right?
Right. So what I did,
Specialist.
after I finished my basic training, then I had to go to something called AIT. That was another 3 months. AIT is Advanced Individual Training.
Okay.
We gained something called MOS. MOS is what adds a specialist on top of being a soldier. Because I know I want to become an officer, I took something more normal, something close to what I do as a computer. So I went to a 92 Yankee school. 92 Yankee is the name of the specialist. There are 42 Alpha, which is like a human HR, 92 Golf, which is cook, 92 Yankee is a supply specialist, 92 Alpha is something, 13 Bravo is an infantry soldier. So there are different specializations. I took 92 Yankee because I know my wife was waiting and she's pregnant, and whatever training I was going to do is going to be useless because the moment I went back to my local unit, I joined officer candidate school to become an officer.
Oh, so you never was an NCO then?
I never became a sergeant. I was only specialist.
Oh, you were a specialist and then...
I never became a sergeant.
Oh, okay.
So I finished my AIT at Fort Lee.
Oh, I see. Okay.
At Fort Lee, I did my thing in 92 Yankee.
Okay.
That is another 3 months. After that, I went back home. My first unit was an infantry unit in Illinois. I stayed there for 3 to 4 months.
Okay.
I did an annual training, summer training, and then my commander, because he knew my aspirations, put my profile as an officer.
Oh, okay.
So you can become officer in the American Army in multiple ways. First, you can go to ROTC. When you're going to college,
Reserved Officer
Officer Training Course.
Okay.
So while you're finishing your college, the Army will pay for your college.
Right.
Which is what I would encourage our Indian youth that are listening to this. You can become anything. You can go into Army. There is West Point, which is considered as a Premier League Army school. Or you can go to Cathedral, Air Force Academy.
Before you finish your graduation or after you finish your graduation?
No, you can. West Point is an Army college.
Oh, okay.
Like your UTA, like your anything, West Point is a college where you can apply for it.
Okay.
And looking at your profile and everything, only few people, there are few seats, they'll give it to you, and they're considered as the most premier Army institutes, like NDA compared with India.
Okay.
When you go to NDA, you will get your bachelor, but you will take a break. As soon as you are done, you get commissioned as a second lieutenant, which is what happens. If you cannot get into any of these Army premier schools, you can still go through regular universities like UT Arlington, or you can go to University of Texas at College Station,
right.
UTA.
Yeah.
Any of these things, they all run ROTC programs.
Oh, okay.
So you can finish, you don't have to compromise your education. You can finish your bachelor's, and then you can come out as a second lieutenant. That is one path. The other path is OCS, called Officer Cadet School.
Oh, okay.
Officer Cadet School is for the NCOs that comes from the NCO Corps. And what they say is, you need at least minimum associate's degree. These days, they have mandated that you need to have a bachelor's degree.
Oh, okay.
And then you apply for Officer Candidate School, and you have to go through 18 months of rigorous training. Then they will commission you as an officer.
Okay.
Or if you don't want to become ROTC, but you want to directly get commissioned, if you are a citizen, it's called 09 Sierra, 09S. 09 Sierra is where you finish your basic training, then you will directly go into 09 Sierra. Because I could not go into 09 Sierra, I took an MOS, I went to AIT, finished that, and then I did my OCS. I got commissioned in 2015 September.
Okay.
As a second lieutenant. My basic branch, when I finished my thing, was CBRN, chemical, biological, radioactive, and nuclear. So if you have ever remember seeing the movie Rock, where there is Sean Connery and there is Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage is this chemical war specialist that comes in there to Alcatraz, and he neutralizes all the bombs that they have disposed. So we are in charge of chemical weapons. And imagine, this is 2012, 2013. We had an active theater in Iraq and Afghanistan. At the same time, Syria, there was mustard gas being used against the civilians, and there were units. So CBRN deals with how, when you are deployed, decontaminate, chemical munitions. And the second thing is biological weapons. Radioactive and nuclear. Biological weapon would be what happened with COVID. COVID is considered as a biological weapon. During the modern era, the NATO worked with a lot of these premier forces and told that biological and chemical weapons are not considered humane, and nuclear, of course. So they are heavily regulated. But during World War I, if you remember, the Agent Orange during the Vietnam era that we used is a chemical weapon. During World War I, Germany used a lot of chemical weapons against American forces and the alliance forces. So after that, what NATO did or the UN did is banned chemical weapons. So these days, chemical weapons are not used by any NATO nations, but still they are being produced by and used by people. So my first unit was to make sure that chemical, biological, radioactive and nuclear weapons, if I'm staying in the country, we would work with the Homeland Security, and if there are any threats to the domestic nation, then we would be the first people. You must have seen the last of hazmat suits with the yellow and the white. So we were that people. We put hazmat and we go into if there is a chemical, let's say nuclear bomb, we would go into the nuclear bomb. And what we were trained in our first unit was to make sure that we would have a nuclear exposure thing, and we all take 30 minutes and go into the radioactive zone. We rescue, we find people, we bring them out, we take a break, and then as a commander, I was a commander of the unit when I finished in 2021 and came to Texas. Right now I work for 300th Combat Sustainment Brigade. This is the unit I'm part. They're called the Black Stallions.
Oh, okay.
Combat Sustainment Brigade. This is the unit that I am, which is in Grand Prairie. So what a Combat Sustainment Brigade does is they sustain war function.
Okay.
So whenever you go to a war, these are the quartermasters. These are the people that supply the munitions. They are the people that supply weapons. They are the people that supply food. They are the people that supply transportation. So I got deployed as part of a sustainment brigade. And this is the unit that I got deployed. It's called 1st AD, 1st Armored Division. 1st Armored Division was put, Army comes with same thing as your father was. There is a lot of history for units. So the 1940s when they stood up the 1st Armored Division, they went to Tunisia in the African Command, AFRICOM we call it. And they are the first armored tanks that we had because we were fighting Italy and France, if you remember. So this unit got us wins. They almost destroyed 40 divisions of both Italian and the French forces. And so it's a very proud history. From there, 1940, you come to 1945, they were part of the Vietnam, the Korean War, they are part of First World War. We were in Russia, helping the front. So 1st Armored Division then stayed in Germany for the longest of the time, and when Afghanistan started, 1st Armored Division again started supporting the war function. So that is my deployment patch.
I can see the passion. I can see, I don't know how to put it, but I can see that the whole life of you into the US Army.
Of course, it gives you, I thank Army because it gave me a lot of pride. It gives you a mission and a purpose, and that makes you feel like you're doing something to the community. Your life becomes fulfilled. So it does give me a lot of pride.